We're, we just have a slight change. So James Clinton from our staff is going to actually be the one sharing his screen and the PowerPoint, and he'll be clicking through the PowerPoint as the district attorney presents. So if you can give him some screen sharing abilities, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Just a few more minutes. Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting shortly.
Yep. Just a few more minutes.
Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting in 2 more minutes. We'll start exactly at 9:10. Thank you.
A good turnout.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Small Business Safety and Crime Prevention Forum. My name is Nina Flores, and I am the Executive Director of the Staten Island Business Outreach Center. The Staten Island Business Outreach Center, SIBOC, is a not-for-profit organization that has been serving the community of Staten Island since 1980, providing business development programs and technical assistance to commercial corridors. A special thank you to Inspector Kinsella of the 120 Precinct and Staten Island District Attorney Michael McMahon for taking the time out of their busy schedule to provide small businesses with the knowledge and the tools for safety and crime prevention. A little housekeeping, all participants will be muted during the duration of the forum. Our presenters will have 15 minutes to speak. After the last presenter, we'll open up to Q&A. So if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand or utilize the chat box, and one of our staff members, Priscilla and Jennifer, will be onto it. Thank you. And Inspector, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Inspector Tanya Kinsella. Many of you know me as the Commanding Officer of the 120. But before I start my presentation, I would like to do a moment of silence for my 2 fallen brothers. Thank you. So before I begin, I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. As we all see on the news and everywhere else, we're off to a rough start crime-wise, but I understand your frustration. We started the year with a few commercial burglaries, starting with Beans and Leaves. Then we had a bodega on 444 Manor Road burglarized. So I'm here with myself and my crime prevention officer, Rob Adams. So first and foremost, last year, I want to start with numbers. I always like to start with numbers because, as we all know, numbers never lie, right? So for 2021, we had approximately 30 commercial burglaries. But believe it or not, that number sounds a lot, but that's the lowest it's been in years. This year, however, even though we're 3 weeks into the year, we have 3 commercial burglaries, one being Beans and Leaves, another one on 444 Prospect, and then there was another one, I'm sorry, not on Prospect, Manor Road, and then there was another one on 40 Prospect. So we're here to discuss the safety tips, how we can protect our businesses, right? So one of the things that I'm gonna suggest is, first and foremost, please have, if you can, have an alarm system. Alarm system that goes off right away. I recognize many names here, and a lot of business owners have alarm systems with cameras, but cameras that actually record. Because a lot of times that we have cameras, but the cameras do not record. So that's pointless for us and to investigate crime and so forth. Thirdly, we suggest that you do not, please, I cannot reiterate this enough. Please do not leave money in the registers at the end of the night. A lot of people, because of the mask mandate, are wearing masks. So I'm gonna use Beans and Leaves only because I love Beans and Leaves and I go there a lot. So Beans and Leaves, for instance, the perpetrator, he wore a full mask and gloves. We weren't able to get DNA or prints from the gentleman, nor were we able to ID him because he wore a mask. So we just got to be mindful of these things. A lot of people, again, if you have a business and you have a pull down gate, make sure the gate is all the way down and locked, or your doors are securely locked. Just go back and double check at the end. I do that at my home. I go back and I double check that I lock my doors, because sometimes we think we lock things and we don't lock it, and we're such in a rush to leave. And again, we are always here to do safety, crime prevention work, because we want to give you pointers. We want to show you little tricks to how to keep your businesses safe. And as always, you have my number. You obviously have 911. If you feel something's not safe, we're a community. The North Shore here, we're small, but we're all tight knit. The DA and I, we all live in the North Shore. We're all neighbors here. So we want to make sure that we educate ourselves and we stay abreast of the current trends. Right now, the current trends, what we're seeing is an increase of robberies and grand larcenies. And the robberies are not just from persons, but the robberies are from businesses as well. Okay, we took one yesterday on Banduza, and perpetrators are casing the stores or businesses before they enter. So please, if you have a business, just be mindful, stay alert. If you see something, say something. Something don't feel right, you could call me. Even if you think it's silly, call me. Hey, inspector, can you send a car over to so-and-so, to Santander Bank on Forest Avenue, or to St. George Theater? We have no problem with that, because that's preventative measures that we would love to take, because we don't want you to be a victim of any crime. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Rob Adams. He's my crime prevention officer, that he will gladly do burglary or robbery, any type of crime prevention tips that you need to go over, and he'll walk through your establishment with you and point out things that we can do to provide more safety. Okay, Rob?
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? So just to extrapolate on that, a great service that we have, a great service the NYPD offers is a crime prevention survey. So like my inspector was saying, basically it's a walkthrough throughout the premise. And then if any deficiency that we see, I'll make recommendations how to best fix that. Sometimes it could be expensive, but sometimes you also approach, an aspect where it could be more affordable. Some other tips are like the inspector said, alarm systems. If you do have them, make sure you test the alarm system regularly, monthly. It would be great. What's the point of having an alarm if it's not working? Also with safes. If you have a safe in your business, just make sure it's bolted down to the ground, and you change your combination often if you allow employees to have access in the safe. Another thing we run into contact with a lot is people gaining access to the roof. So when you walk around the premise, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this. People will leave ladders around or garbage bins or anything like that. Once people get on top of a roof, they have free reign. They can either go through a ventilation hatch or any kind of hatch on the roof. All right. So basically, yeah, if you want to contact the crime prevention office or community affairs office, you can contact us at 718
We'll put it in the chat too.
in the chat. So, okay, so 876-8505. And like I said, it's a walk through the premise and you can generate something that looks like this. It's a 15-page report and has all the specifications.
I'll be your model.
Thank you. It has all the specifications of what you need, whether alarm systems, video surveillance, the doors, locks, windows, window glazing, roll down gates. It's a great report, and you can have it on file if you want to get an estimate for security, anything security based. You have all the specifications with what exactly you need. So,
You good?
well, good,
Was that a good model?
very good. That's it.
Okay, move on. So I hope that this answered any questions or any doubts that you have in your mind. We do, and I assure you, I'll tell you the process before I hand it over to our esteemed DA. We get the report, right? We go, we take the report, ECT comes, collect any DNA or fingerprints that we can get. Then the case is assigned to detective. Once it's assigned to detective, we check for videos inside the location, videos in the surrounding areas, like blocks or other business establishments. And then we do, if we have a facial recognition, we enter the still picture that we have into a facial recognition to see if it pops on any other, someone that's been in the system before. So that's how we investigate our burglaries. Again, I know it's frustrating because a lot of times the businesses are hurt. You know, we're all hurting during these times, and financially, emotionally, and then this on top of someone breaking and entering. I get it, and trust me, we understand, and we are on top of our burglaries, any crime, every crime actually. But please know that we take this as serious, and we know that the financial loss that the businesses take when they're
Sorry, did you say that again?
Oh, sorry, my watch. We know the financial loss that the businesses take when they're burglarized, but these are some measures that I would suggest to take so that we won't be re-victimized or a victim again or for the first time, okay? And as always, as your esteemed neighbor, your commanding officer in the 120 precinct, I'm here, I'm always here. And if you need anything, my number is in the chat. My email is in the chat. Please feel free. I answer anytime, all the time. I think Nina, Dick McMahon, Michael, Josette, everybody here knows that I answer right away, okay? Please be safe and thank you. DA McMahon.
Thank you, Inspector Kinsella. Can you guys hear me okay? Good. So thank you, Inspector Kinsella. And I want to start bragging on her before we do anything else, because we are so lucky to have Inspector Tanya Kinsella as our commander of the 120. And I say that not only as your DA who has to deal with, you know, all types of crimes and all types of quality of life issues and safety issues across the island. And so I know that when we have a major incident going on and she's on the phone, she's informing me, she's, you know, but she's also talking to the community. And she's there 24/7. So, you know, when last week, really not even in her jurisdiction, but there was a detective who was executing a search warrant in a major drug location, and he was shot and injured. And of course, we keep him in our prayers together with the detectives that we lost uptown. But she was right there on the spot in the hospital doing what she does. But it's also so much more because she gets the quality of life issues as well. She understands that if someone has a condition in their neighborhood and it just, it's continuing and it's making life miserable for the neighbors, for the street, she's there, she's trying to solve it. So too often, I think let's say this in a broad sense, people in law enforcement don't get how important the smaller issues, the quality of life issues are. And Inspector Kinsella does. And as she said, because she's one of us, she lives in a neighborhood, she knows what it's like. Living here, and she's got a family here. And so we're really lucky to have her and the whole team at the 120 and the 121 as well, and particularly on the North Shore and the West Shore, and then the 122 and the 123 as well. Officer Adams, I think I remember when he was playing baseball in the Little League, and now look, he's a big shot commercial safety business safety officer. What the boy, time flies, right? But thank you very much for what you guys do every day, and thanks for being great partners. And they also understand, as I do, that we do our best and we can always do better. And that's where this partnership with you all is so important. And I just want to thank the Business Outreach Center, Nina Flores, the executive director, and Priscilla Marco. I remember when she was just a neighborhood kid, community board member. And now look, she's the neighborhood development specialist for the Outreach Center and involved with the bid. So Priscilla, it's great to see you as well. And to all you attendees, because you care not just about your business or your community, but you care about the broader health of our island. And that's so reassuring to us here in the DA's office, because sometimes we're banging our heads against the wall trying to figure out what's going on and does anybody care. And when we do an event like this, we really do appreciate you very much. I'm joined, I want to make sure you all know Ashley Owens, who's our chief of staff here in the office. She's on the call. Lisa Thompson is here alongside me, and James Clinton is on the call, and he's going to put up the PowerPoint for us. And so what I want to do, what I thought I would do is just take a few minutes of my time and try to put things into context of what is going on in terms of public safety and quality of life. And why I think context is so important is because when we try to understand problems and trends, you can't just do it looking at things from a micro sense. You have to look a little bit more at a macro sense. So I'd like to do that with you. And let me just sort of re-stress my bona fides here, not only as a neighbor who lives over by St. Vincent's Rumsey, but also for close to 20 years, I was a small business owner with an office building, with employees, with the city of New York, with dealing with burglaries, with dealing with community issues. And so I understand completely sometimes the frustrations or the concerns that many of you feel as business owners, community members, or both. I get that wholeheartedly, but please understand that again. I want you to understand what we're doing here in our office and what we do work in partnership with our great partners in the police department and other public safety officers across this borough. So let's talk a little bit just about, the sort of the state of public safety and for this business forum. So James, you can go to the next one. So first, just citywide, so we know what's going on. There's a lot of press about this. There's a lot of talk. So we always like to just give you a quick context of where we are in terms of numbers. So overall index crimes were up close to 7% in 2021. And you can see the numbers there. Murder is up 4.3%, which is not a major increase, but you see that in 2020, it was up 44.8% from 2019. And let me remind you, this is really important to know, because you can't look at, a week's numbers or a month's numbers. You have to look kind of year to year and multiple years. And fortunately, 2018 and 2019 were the lowest recorded crime numbers in years in modern times, in more than 30 or 40 years. And that was due to great successes from PD, our office, and working with the community. So when you see now, everyone talks about these great increases from 19 to 20, that's bad and it's very concerning. Part of it is because 19 was so low. Part of it is because 20 got bad. And so when you add the two together, we get a number like an increase citywide of 0.8% in murder rates, and that's unacceptable. And then you'll see rape up 3.8, robbery 5.1, felony assault, and then you see burglary is down. And again, that was because 2020 was such a high number for burglaries, and a lot of that was COVID related, amongst other things. And then grand larceny auto, and I'll come back to those later. So let's look at Staten Island's numbers. So you see Staten Island is really something that, you know, we consider not bad, 1.5%. We want the numbers to be going down all the time. But when you think about the context of where numbers are up across the country and what the news is about every day, when you look, you'll see in Staten Island, our murder rate is down 25%, rape down, robbery down, felony assaults are down, burglary down 30%. And unfortunately, then you see grand larceny is up and grand larceny auto is up. And I'll speak about those a little bit more, but grand larceny is up because of the scams. So many people are becoming victims of scams, you know, the phone calls, the emails, the texts where people are being duped, and that's up. And then grand larceny auto is up as it is everywhere. Two reasons: where targets of a ring that comes over from New Jersey here on Staten Island, but then also, unfortunately, so many people with the modern vehicles leave their key fobs in their cars, and it makes it easy to steal cars. So anyway, we'll come back to that. So what also is good news is that you see in 2021, arrests were up 16.4%. And that's a good news, not bad news. Normally it'd be bad news, but it's good news because during the pandemic, arrests went way down, and that was not good news because that meant that a lot of crimes were being unreported or unaddressed, and now we're getting back to sort of normal. And that number is still 7,000, is a little bit low for Staten Island. I think over the many years we averaged around 8,000, so that means we're kind of back up in full operation. Go ahead, James. So these are numbers that I really like people to be aware of, that this is the last 5 years on Staten Island, and coincidentally, we came into office in 2016. And so we like people to be aware that over the 5 years since 2016, murder is down almost 30%, rape is down 2%, robbery down over 50%. Felony assaults down close to 10%, and a lot of those are domestic violence related, so we worked a lot on that. We're glad that that is down. Burglary is down 53.8%, and grand larceny is down 5.3%. And again, the only one that's up over the past 5 years is grand larceny auto, and a lot of that is because of the reasons that I stated. Overall index crimes, those are the major felonies, are down almost 20% over the last 5 years. So despite what you read every day in the New York Post and the Daily News, Staten Island continues to be the safest community of its size of any community in the United States of America. Go ahead, James. There's a lot of news, but back on the last slide, what I said, that's important to know that, but I also realized, now you can go forward, James, but we also realized that if you're burgled once, or if you're assaulted once, or if you're robbed once, all these numbers don't matter because it really is in many ways a life-changing occurrence, and we get that, and we want to make sure that there's no crime. But again, let's look at the context and see that it's something that is being addressed very effectively here in Staten Island. I want to talk a little bit about shootings and gun cases, because we see how much that's a focus in the news every day, and what the mayor is trying to do to rein that back in. And we saw the terrible effects of it. We saw it here with Detective Libretti. We saw it with the two heroic officers up in Harlem. We saw it with the young lady in the Burger King, or the nearly 1-year-old who got shot in the cheek. It's out of control. And you'll see here. So this is, again, citywide. Shooting incidents were up close to 2% in 2021, but they were up 100% 2019 to 2020. So, 2019 to 2021, you're up clearly 100%, and that is unacceptable. In Staten Island, they were down 10% in 2021. And we did have a spike 2019 to 2020 as well. Shooting victims up in 2021 citywide and Staten and 103 compared again to 2019, and in Staten Island close to 10% they're down. 1,876 people shot in New York City in 2021, compared with a little less than that, 16 or 17 less in 2020. So at least things have leveled off. Unacceptable, but it's not going up. And on Staten Island in 2021, 40 people were shot, and that's 2.2% of the citywide total. Remember, we are 6% of the city population. So again, safer than the rest of the city, safer than the rest of the country, but still not acceptable. One gunshot is too many, and so we'll keep working on it. During the pandemic, gun arrests went down for obvious reasons. Our police officers were out with COVID. They were called in to deal with the riots and protests and other issues. There was a lot of changes in policing. So in 19 to 20, they were down. However, in 2021, they came back up. And this is really important. You'll see in Staten Island, almost by 50%, they came back up. And that's a key tool in our toolkit in fighting gun violence, obviously, is confiscating the guns that are out on the streets. And our cops and our detectives are doing a great job with that here on Staten Island. And again, very, very dangerous work. So we appreciate that. So what we do in the office and what we do with our partners in the police department is we do very detailed analysis of crimes as they occur in our borough. When we came into office here, we set up a crime strategies unit. We have analysts. We have very skilled people with technology who can help us understand what is happening and also help us predict what may happen and help us prevent crime as well. So we want to just give you some of the results of their work. So you'll see here in the 120, and these are the homicides, the non-fatal shootings, and the shots fired incidents in the 120. So these major incidents, and you can see by neighborhood where they occur. And again, they continue to be focused around the NYCHA housing developments and Park Hill. So you see there West Brighton, New Brighton, Stapleton, and Park Hill. And we know that a lot of these gun crimes arise out of gang or crew activity. And that this allows us to understand where it's happening and why it's happening, and then allows us to try to intervene with preventative measures, and of course, where to focus our police and prosecutorial assets. We'll go to the next one, James. We also, we don't just track major crimes. We also look at lesser crimes, if you will, not just gun and shooting cases. And you can see here what we've seen in 2021 in the Forest Avenue bid corridor. And you can see the number of burglaries, robberies, assaults, everything that's been reported and investigated, the number of aided cases. And then also we look at, we just don't follow major crimes. We look at conditions. A lot of that comes in through 311 calls, our activity with the community and civic groups. And you can see here what we see happening in this district, and again, how we try to address these conditions, which again, we take incredibly seriously because these areas, the commercial districts that we're going to look at, and all of them are so vital to the health of our community. We want to make sure that they're strong as well. So you get an overall sense of what we've seen in the last year in Forest Avenue. Go to the next one. Good. And then, specifically to this group, the commercial incidents, the burglaries, the pretzel factory we saw, the convenience store on 520 Forest, and Beans and Leaves, which the inspector already spoke about. And then where we see assault, 3 cases, those are misdemeanor assaults. Usually someone is assaulted, but it's not serious, as serious as felony assault. And of course, the grand larceny at the Verizon store at the corner of Forest and Hart. Levels of larceny are determined by the amount that is stolen. When I get to a grand larceny, then that's a felony level. Next one, James. And then the commercial incidents you see, the different stores. A lot of the pettit larcenies are from the CVS. So what we're seeing in the press about the pharmacies and the drugstores being targets of shoplifters is occurring here on Staten Island as well, unfortunately. And we're working with the ownership there, management, to try to deal with those issues. There are, things that store owners can do when pettit larcenies occur, when the shoplifting occurs, make sure that you report it. And we can get either an order of protection or certainly a ban on that individual from the store. It helps us in enforcement down the road. Go ahead, James. So this is the area, the Castleton Merchants Association area. So this is really Bard Avenue to Beamont Avenue. Again, that strip of stores that exists there. And these again are the incidents that occurred there in 2021. And you'll see again, sort of the same mixture, if you will, of burglary, two assaults, and then it shows you where the complaints come from in that area as well. A lot of complaints that come through 311 are noise complaints, quite often coming from tavern establishments or the commercial, and sometimes then also residents, maybe neighborhood disputes or what have you. Go ahead, James. Again, you'll see the pettit larcenies at Dunkin' Donuts. So the targets, the CVS is the Dunkin' Donuts. It's in vogue now to target those stores. And we'll speak about why we see that rash in a moment. And again, the Van Duzer Merchants, that's strip between Beach Street and Wright Street. And you'll see what we've received in terms of calls and the issues that have arisen in that area as well. Again, similar mix between burglaries, robberies, assaults. Again, each and every one we record, we investigate. Of course, the police department on the front lines with that, and we do our best to bring the perpetrators to justice. And again, you saw at the Hop Shop, you had an assault in September. So we just put that as of note. Again, a small area, and then a larger area in Bay Street from Broad to Congress Street. We just tried to do a sample across the 120. And again, you can see the number of burglaries. The 80 cases are higher here. The overall volume here, the assaults, the larcenies, it's higher here. You have more pedestrian traffic, if you will, and off hours. And again, you'll see just what we look at and where we try to direct our resources with the police department, what the inspector is looking at, and how she tries to put her preventative crew out there, and where we follow up with our detectives and detective investigators. Okay, James. And again, Bay Street, Broad Street, what we see, what we're looking at, the cases that we're investigating, the cases we're hoping to prosecute. And then we have, again, Bay Street from Water to Canal, another strip of Bay Street. Again, just giving you a sense of what's going on, what type of cases we're working on and where they're occurring, but also the granular way in which we record and investigate everything from a 311 call to a life threatened 911 call. And again, the same there. Good. So a few things that I also want to mention, because there's a lot of talk in the press today about bail reform and changes that have been implemented that affect the way that we can do our jobs. And I have to say that it's really in the area of, when it comes to homicides and attempted murder, we still have the old tools that we used to use, but it's in the sort of lesser charges where in many ways we don't have the ability to prevent or stop these conditions from occurring. So to answer the question, why if somebody commits a burglary, are they back out on the street ready to commit another burglary within a few hours? And a couple cases I just want to highlight for you that will help explain the situation. One is Jeffrey Reeder. He was arrested in June of 2019 in connection with 2 burglaries on Forest Avenue at Liberty Tavern and Mar. And he was suspected in other burglaries as well. The commercial burglars most times are recidivists, meaning that they're doing it again and again and again. This particular person, he climbed the roof of Jody's, got into the Liberty Tavern, he left DNA behind, he tried to steal the ATM. So this particular case got a lot of attention. And we were able to charge him with a felony, and he's currently incarcerated. We were able to charge him and prosecute him because of the great investigation done by PD and then precision prosecution by my office. And we were able to have him incarcerated for 3 to 6 years on 2 consecutive convictions. And in 2019, when this occurred, those commercial burglaries were bail eligible offenses. So we were able to hold him at that time and prosecute him so he could not go back out on the street and commit them again. Post bail reform, those charges are not bail eligible. And so then it's much harder for us to do that unless we can establish that he was held on a felony and committed another felony. There's a little room there, but generally speaking, it's very difficult for us to stop those recidivists from doing what they're doing. The same is true with Stanley Winselwitz, who was burglarizing the Dunkin' Donuts down on Richmond Terrace, and he was a repeat offender as well. And again, we could request bail in when that happened in 2019, but not now. And those just to give you an idea. So when someone commits a commercial burglary, it's not bail eligible, and that's why they're out again. And then the lesser offenses, the shoplifters, the petty larcenies, what the police have to do now is give those individuals desk appearance tickets. And that means that they're not even held over for arraignment, and when we can try to capture them into our system, maybe to get them the mental health treatment that they need, if addiction is driving their behavior, whatever it is, we can't sort of interrupt that activity because the inspector will pick them up, arrest them for string of petty larceny. She's got to give them a DAT, and they're back out on the street, a desk appearance ticket out in 2 years or so. So one of the things, now Lisa's just given me, so she's reminding me that criminal history is something we can argue in bail applications. That's something that we got changed in Albany after the initial bail reform. We went up there and argued for that. We do have that tool, but it's not the same. It's not as precise. It's not as good, if you will, or effective as it was before the bail reform laws. So bail reform has certainly had this impact, especially on the mid-level crimes that we seek to prosecute and interrupt the behavior, but it's very difficult because if they're recidivists, which commercial burglars are, shoplifters are, it's hard for us. Now, I will say this, that in the case where if you can work with the police department and if you're the victim of a larceny, you can ask for an order of protection. And if you ask for that order of protection, then that allows the police to hold the individual over for a live arraignment, which gives us more time to try to connect that person to services, to try to interrupt that behavior. So that I would add that as advice that if you are a victim and an arrest is made, to immediately ask for an order of protection so that we can then hold that person over. Excuse me, 1 second. Sorry about that. Good, so, Lisa, what else do we have? That was it? What did I leave out?
I think you covered it. We're on to the Q&A.
We're on to the Q and A, and let me just conclude again by saying that we, when these things happen, when you're a victim of crime, everyone in my office, we feel your pain. We have a team of victim advocates who are here not only for the victims, what we think of domestic violence and special victim cases, but also every victim of crime is connected with a victim advocate. And they stay with you throughout the case. So if you have questions during the proceedings, please reach out to us and we will work with you to help you get through what happened to you. And then also to work with you and your fellow business people and the civic leaders who are here to try to do prevention as well. Because we take very seriously the vibrancy of our business community and the overall communities as well. We know that the pandemic has been really difficult for you. Yesterday, my team handed me again that article that was written by Ms. Capola from Beans and Leaves, what you go through in that regard, and then to have somebody come and break into your establishment or your even worse your private property. And to deal with that as well, the violation, the fear, we get it all. So again, thanks for being such a vibrant part of the Staten Island community, and we'll be glad to take any questions. The easy ones I'll answer, the hard ones I give to the inspector.
I want to thank you both for presenting, and we'll start the Q&A. Glenn, you had your hand up? You could.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Good. Great information. Mike, nice seeing you. Nice seeing everybody from the community again. My question mostly is, I've spoken to a couple of business owners. I own the Allstate office on Bay Street at 60 Bay. I've been down here 23 years now, and I've never seen it as bad as it is right now. The biggest problem that we have, everything with the burglary, all that is great information. It's pretty astounding, some of it. But it's what goes on during the course of the day here as well. Between the homeless and the beggars coming into the office, not leaving, which is a huge problem. If I can't cut them off at the door, I can't get them out. And it takes a while to get them out of the office. Young lady that works here, whose parents are retired police officer 120, will go outside to have a cigarette, and they come up to ask her for money. They block her to come back into the office. I go outside. It's the daytime that's a problem down this way also. It's between the homeless, the kids coming out of the school, causing problems. Just last week, we had somebody pick up a garbage can out here and throw it at the window 5 times. We have it on video. They threw it at the front door 5 times and just walked away. It took us about 15 minutes to get police officers down here to look at it. And the same person also tried the same thing at A&S Pizza up on Stuyvesant. So really my question is, what are we doing down here with the homeless, the drugs, the kids? We just keep building homeless shelters. We keep bringing everybody down to St. George and Stapleton. There's a great saying, somebody told me, St. George is where great ideas come to die. So what are we doing about that? The daytime things that go on. Burglary and all, I understand, but the daytime things are also very tough because you can't get people to come down here anymore. People are horrified to come down. They think the North Shore is a horrible place.
Okay, I'll answer that. I'm sorry that this has been happening to you. Secondly, we do address like low level quality of life complaints when we see them, right? So the homelessness, we always offer services to them, but we can't force them into shelters. So for example, we had something last week where we went to, we have homeless outreach. We have a unit called homeless outreach, and my officers in homeless outreach will go throughout Forest Avenue corridor or Bay Street corridor, along also closer to like the ferry where we have a lot of homelessness as well. And they will offer their services to bring them to shelters. And believe it or not, maybe 99% of homeless individuals don't accept the shelter part of it. So I understand what your frustration in that regards. I do agree. And we should not be taking 15 minutes to respond to your location. And I'm sorry about that. I will actually look into that matter. We do address low-level quality of life offenses, especially by the park. We see people drinking or so forth. We'll put officers over there. They'll issue summonses or so forth. But I see it myself. I run down Bay Street and you have the food pantry. Sometimes we have people there that are very egregious, and we put the cop car there. So if you have any further issues, I put my contact information into the chat, and I would love to have further conversations with you, Glenn.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I do too. And as I said, the Inspector Kinsella gets these concerns, and she, there are some who might just blow it off as that's, small potatoes. That's not my concern. I'm only dealing with big, major felony crimes, but she's not like that. And she gets how important it is. Part of the problem was the prior administration changed how we do homeless outreach. The police department used to have, I want to call it a division or a unit that did homeless outreach that would be able to go out, and even if someone wasn't going to accept the final service, at least to bring them in, get them into a warm place, get them into something and interrupt. Again, the tools we need are, you have to interrupt the behavior if you're going to try to change the behavior. And now that doesn't exist anymore. And so it's very difficult for the regular cop on the beat to deal with this issue. That's not what they're trained for, and the specialists are not available anymore. So that's a big change that we see. We've lost locations for people to go to. And then you're right, because as you know, I'm looking down at your building right out my window right now, Glenn. I can wave to you. We see it here every day in St. George that the increase in people who need mental health services, who need some intervention, have increased dramatically. And people talk about doing this and that on the North Shore, and the northernmost shore or St. George, and all that comes are a concentration of facilities for those in need. So these are political decisions that are made, and you guys have to, there's a new borough president, and I will join you in calling for changes in policies as much as possible to deal with these issues, because you're absolutely right. We see it every day. We're here, and I want you to know that I get it. I agree with you. And we have to change the way we're dealing with people who, the pandemic, we say it with the opioid addiction crisis, that it sort of exacerbated and overshadowed under that condition, but also the overall condition of mental health. And we're not dealing with it enough. So we will join you in that discussion and do our best to bring about a change there as much as we can, even from a point of advocacy, because we deal, from prosecution, maybe not so much, but from our platform as being part of the community and my community partnership team that that Ashley oversees and that Lisa's part of and James is part of. We will work with you on that.
Thanks. If there's anything, make me a part of it. I'd be more than happy to join it. And I know there's other business owners on here that'll come right in with it.
Yeah, and it's everything, listen, it's the increase of the sort of human, like I say, the human misery almost that we see every day, to the quality, litter, to graffiti, to, it's just stuff that we have to kind of push back and say, no, we want to take back our borough, and that's all part of it. So we are definitely partners in that. I know some of our civic association leaders are on here too. I know they've been fighting that battle for a long time, and We need it, you know, post-pandemic, we're gonna need it more than ever.
Thank you. Mitch, you want to ask your question?
Sure. So yeah, one of the slides that was, well, first of all, thank you to everyone who put this together. Whoever is working on social media, that's how I saw this event. So, and said this is something to take a look at. Absolutely. So shout out to the social media team there. One of the slides was comparing 2016 to 2021. And the overall index crime going down. I think the number was 18 point something %, which is a nice number to see. And I think one of the things that's important when doing the preventative work and trying to make things better is highlighting the things that worked and talk about, you know, how are those things looking today, and how are those being increased, or what changes are being made. You know, again, as you mentioned, you know, as time goes on, it's going to be interesting to see as things, you know, in the age of COVID, what's going to change when things do open up to the fullest extent, what's going to happen. So just to kind of highlight some of the best practices or changes that happened in that period of time, and to hear a bit more on how that's being focused on as moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mitch. I appreciate that. And just real quickly, we are sort of discussing how best to get that word out, because as we, you know, the discussion in the rest of the city is what's not working. And when you look to Staten Island, you see a lot of the things that we are doing with our partners, they are working. And I could go on and on, everything from domestic violence, from the opioid epidemic, from trying our best with mental health and having mental health treatment courts and misdemeanor treatment court, and dealing with hate crimes and having a hate crimes task force across the board. So I'm not going to do that all now because you won't get to work till 7 o'clock tonight. But I appreciate that point. And there are many things that are going on in law enforcement and community justice that are working and need to be highlighted. And there are more things that we can try. And that's important to have that discussion. So, and that I think, well, you know, one of the things we've lost in these 5 years and maybe more is the trust between the community that we keep safe and those in law enforcement. And I think when they get to realize what we're doing in a positive way, not through, you know, incarceration and criminalization, but through positive work, that'll help restore that trust and make us all better for it. So I appreciate that comment very much.
A super quick follow-up would be, you know, I'm representing the JCC of Staten Island today. And if you do have someone that's working on putting together some sort of overall presentation focusing on these change, you know, I'd love to work with them and put that together and be a partner in that way, if possible.
Great. All right. I see Miss Owen smiling over there. She's like, yeah, we need help. Okay, great. Thank you, Mitch.
Follow up with you, Mitch. Thank you.
Claudia, you have a question? There's one.
I'm sorry. And again, so what the DA said is that what makes Staten Island so unique is that we all live here. We all live here, and most of us have cameras, the Ring. We have a shared interest, whether you're on the North Shore or you're the South Shore, we live here. So what affects the Bay Street, North Shore, the South Shore affects all shores. So that's what makes us very unique. I'm gonna brag, the safest borough in the city, because we have a DA that works with us. Because I could tell you, there's times that I call him personally about certain crime individuals. And I'm like, DA, please help us with this. This is what we have. This is our argument. This is his record. This is what, you know, we need. We let him out. This is what's going to happen. And we are so lucky to have a DA that is for us, for the community, for everyone here. And we're honored. I am truly blessed. Working on the other side of the pond in Brooklyn, we didn't have such a great, and I'm going to say it publicly, we did not have such a great DA relationship where we're like, all right, this is this person affecting the community. And so we're lucky. We're very lucky and we're blessed. And as far as the numbers from 2016 to 2021, we focus on precision policing, meaning we're just not arresting people just to arrest people or just put cuffs on people to put cuffs on people anymore. We understand the dynamics. Like, listen, certain individuals, you made a mistake, right? and or have a mental component. We're now, all right, this person don't need arrest, don't need to be institutionalized and corrections, they need to be institutionalized in a mental establishment and so forth. So now we're putting more efforts into people that need mental health and people that are really career criminals. And with the help of the DA's office, with the immense help of the DA's office, we're honing in on the perpetrators that are career criminals, that are bringing down our quality of life on Staten Island. So that's what makes us unique. And this is what we're going to continue to do. And we're going to continue to get better and do better. I hope that answered your question, Ms.
Claudia, you had your hand up? Do you want to answer?
Yes, I did. I live at 350 Richmond Terrace, which is a co-op, and I want to thank the captain for sending surveillance to a known drug sites that are close to, well, my residence here. So thank you for that. It's been really gratifying to see the police watching and deterring the drug action. Secondly, there is an abandoned car, which I notice has been ticketed and on St. Peter's Place, and I'm assuming it's going to be removed soon. And then there is a United Healthcare van that's still parked on Richmond Terrace. And these are not the only abandoned cars or trucks. And lastly, I don't know whose purview it is, but I'm seeing again along the waterfront, Front Street, of course, the accumulation of trailers that once were in preponderance there, and they're coming back again. So these are some things that you might want to take into consideration. So I thank you again for the police surveillance also.
No problem, Claudia. We were actually, Miss Claudia, we will look into that. My partner here, Adams, is writing everything down and we'll follow up. I know that we work hard hand in hand with sanitation with abandoned vehicles. So we'll summons it and we'll chalk them, and then sanitation is notified to come pick them up. So we'll reach out to our partners at sanitation today to see what's an update on those vehicles, and we'll look into the trailers.
And we, just so you know, ma'am, that we, I say me too to what the inspector said, and also that we did the last action to clear out Front Street, to get the litter out, to get the trailers, the abandoned vehicles. We worked with the police department, my community partnership team, their community affairs, and the former borough president's office. And we've met with the new borough president to continue those actions to try to deal with that condition down there, which I know it's myself that some of those trailers are back. So we will get back on that as soon as we can.
You can send,
Is there any other questions? I know the inspector, I thank you, Inspector Kinsella and District Attorney Michael McMahon for, giving us the time to speak, and it's greatly appreciated.
We really appreciate you putting this together and your interest in our work and your support. And like Tanya said, we are Staten Islanders. This is our town. We're doing our best with everything that we have to make it better, safer, and a stronger community. So we thank you for your partnership, and we look forward to better days and a happy pandemic-free spring 2022.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.